If you could describe Kingdom Hearts 2 in one word, what would it be? Nostalgic? Edgy? Perhaps peak? Or maybe you're one of the brave souls fighting the fight, saying that Kingdom Hearts 2 is overrated. The few, the proud, the brave. Regular Pat. In my mind, most of the Kingdom Hearts games can be summed up with one word. One I see as mysterious. The world of Kingdom Hearts is so new, and you don't know much at this point until you slowly answer the mysteries. Plus, in my opinion, this game has the most puzzles. BBS is depressing and gives you the feeling of isolation. You spend most of the narrative separate from your friends, and the game does not end well for all three protagonists. The lack of NPCs and party members further drives this emotion. 3 would be cinematic, DDD would oddly enough be European, and Missing Link would be missing. This guy knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, but Kingdom Hearts 2? If I were to distill Kingdom Hearts 2 to its core emotion, the word that comes to my mind would be epic. To be clear, I don't mean in the sense that Kingdom Hearts 2 is just really cool, but rather it is grand in scale, from its story down to the most minute details. I think I feel this way from my own personal experience, but I'm willing to bet my experience is shared by many other fans. That experience being from Vanilla 1 to Vanilla 2, growing up during the late aughts. Back then, we only had 1, 2, and Chain of Memories, so there wasn't much debate on which to play, especially when you factored in which consoles you had available to you. Nowadays, play order picks are all over the place. Some people go chronologically, starting with Birth by Sleep, or truly insane people start with Union Cross. If you follow the HD collections, your order could go from 1, Chain of Memories, Days, then 2, which could change your perspectives on the story. Even if you go with the release order, you have 1 Final Mix, 3 Chain of Memories, and 2 Final Mix. All 3 have many differences from the original releases. Playing these vanilla versions as a kid in the late 2000s gave players a unique perspective on the games. Like any good sequel, Kingdom Hearts 2 takes what was introduced in Kingdom Hearts 1 and elevates it. I believe this elevation is best conveyed going from Vanilla 1 to Vanilla 2. Almost any other way could change how you view KH2, or it could lose some of its punch. Playing 2 in 2006 just hit different. You just had to be there. So I thought it would be nice to share what it was like to play Kingdom Hearts 2 back then. Revisiting 2 will allow me to articulate the elevation of 2 and why I think KH2 is epic. It's funny, because I wanted to make this video for a while, but when I had heard the theme of March Caprice this year was Homecoming, that sealed the deal. That feeling of coming home after school to the warm glow of the TV. Then, while making this video, I realized this would be coming out around the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts 2, which is the most perfect coincidence. The stars have aligned. I even asked some other creators that played these games during the time to share their perspectives. So if you were in our shoes, this will be a stroll down memory lane. And if you're newer to this franchise, I hope you will be able to live vicariously through our stories, and it will be educational of what it was like back then when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out 20 years ago. To get into the mindset around the release of Kingdom Hearts 2, I thought it would help to talk about life back in 2005 and 6. It was a time of great changes, perhaps when culture as a whole began to shift. We saw the beginning of great technology. 2005 and 6, we saw the beginning of YouTube, Twitter, the Wii, the iPod Shuffle, and Facebook had just opened up to the public. The top song of '06 was Bad Day by Daniel Powter. On TV, we saw the end of Malcolm in the Middle, Fear Factor, That 70s Show. But we also saw the premiere of How I Met Your Mother, The Office, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. The theaters were full of memorable blockbusters such as Batman Begins, Star Wars Episode 3, X-Men The Last Stand, Madagascar, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And Disney was hitting a new stride with such successes as Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Cars, High School Musical, and the premiere of Hannah Montana. Kid me was finishing elementary school and starting middle school. Life was changing for me in more ways than one. I remember when I got Kingdom Hearts 2 for the first time. My dad asked me for a glass of milk. And I was like, okay, I don't know why you called me out here for that. You can get milk yourself. I went to the fridge and opened it, only to find a fresh copy of Kingdom Hearts 2 sitting in front of the milk. I was ecstatic. Now we can pop in this new game and begin. Kingdom Hearts 2 was a masterclass full of charm, polish, and this video focuses on how Kingdom Hearts 2 elevates from Kingdom Hearts 1, and Square came out of the gate swinging. Keep in mind the context and time period. The only dearly beloved we had was 1 and Chain of Memories. And even if your first and only game was Chain, you would see an even starker contrast.
And those dearly beloveds are almost identical, Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories. Kingdom Hearts 1, dearly beloved, when you start up the game, it just goes into like, you know, that iconic like theme, like da da da. But Kingdom Hearts 2, it builds up as the title screen is revealing itself, and it starts off like real somber and slow, and then it kind of, as the title screen comes into picture, then, you know, the dearly beloved, like the iconic like theme, then it hits.
Shimomura and the music team were especially persnickety with the implementation of this dearly beloved, in the sense that she's given interviews where like she was like telling Takehara Ishimoto, who was the synthesizer programmer at the time, to like time it precisely to when the text pops up and when all the credits are revealed, and then when the image fades in. It's supposed to actually begin once the image fades in, and it is timed perfectly to that. So that's another thing that KH1 and Chain of Memories don't do.
Although this may not be what Square was going for, but the more complex Dearly Beloved sends a message of we're not messing around. We're going big this time.
Out the gate, I'm like, this experience is gonna take me for a ride, because that intro already took me for a little bit of a ride.
Kingdom Hearts 1's Dearly Beloved sounds more like a simple melody or a music box. Kingdom Hearts 2's sounds more like an orchestral masterpiece. To me, it feels like Kingdom Hearts 2's version has more emotion, or at the very least, a completely different emotion to it.
When I heard KH2's version, like the depth that it had with the orchestra, the Always on My Mind section going underneath, it was beautiful. And I instantly, again, as a music nerd, I immediately want to learn how to play it. I definitely just sat there for quite a bit, just listening to it.
One of the most interesting parts about the KH2 Dearly Beloved, to me anyway, is that it uses new referential material that the previous versions of the track didn't have at all. And everybody's familiar with the Chain of Memories version of Dearly Beloved. But that's not the one that came out before KH2. There's KH1, original Chain of Memories, then KH2. KH2 is the first one in that set of 3 to use the material Always on My Mind, which is that secondary melody. That whole part is new to KH2. And so, like, it being an evolution of what KH1's Dearly Beloved was, orchestrated, and inserting this new separation theme into it, is what makes that arrangement remarkable, at least to me.
When I'm listening to it, I don't know whether I should break into tears or turn into Jack listening to Mozart. While each Dearly Beloved adds more, or its own flair, I think Kingdom Hearts 2's Dearly Beloved adds the perfect amount of more. Not too much, not too little.
Cage 2, in my opinion, is like the first complete Dearly Beloved that every other one after that like iterates upon. Like every other one after that is just some kind of like, it's either an orchestral reduction or another orchestral version, but Cage 2's was the first orchestra version. That's why I think that's so like such a big deal to people. Also, Cage 2 is the most popular game, so that's that probably does influence some of that.
When talking about elevation, the simplest solution is to take Kingdom Hearts 1 and do more. That's exactly what they did. Kingdom Hearts 2 had Nomura moving like Shifu.
Double the gods, double the weapons, double everything.
I'm talking 2 in the title.
Double.
2 Soras. 2 types of enemies. Double the tutorial. 2 world visits. 2 Twilight Towns. 2 beats! I suppose in the spirit of doubling things, I put double the amount of memes in this segment. We've wasted enough time. Let's actually start the game. In 2006, we only had the 3 games, and most kids had only one of the 2 consoles. Unless you had Chain of Memories, Mickey was a rarity. Although I believe it was unintentional, limiting the appearances of Mickey put an air of mystery around his character. What did he know? What was he doing? What was he planning? Not only did this make Mickey an intriguing character, but made him a key player in the plot.
I love how Kingdom Hearts treats Mickey with respect. To have Mickey like show up only sometimes was like, it really kept this like mystery going of like, okay, you were in the realm of darkness, how'd you get out? Why are you wearing that coat? Where's Riku? It was really cool to just have him appear and then he's gone. It's like, oh wait, no, join us. Why aren't you joining us, right?
The only other character that has this same kind of mystery and lack of appearances is, oddly enough, Pluto. What do you mean Pluto is at the crossroads? What is he doing there? How did he get there? This boy is just hopping through dark corridors going to who knows where. I also can't help but wonder if he knows more than people assume. You know, like Goofy. I joke, but I kind of like the mystery around some characters. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the mystery and intrigue around Mickey has disappeared in these later games. Now that he's a regular part of the cast, the novelty is worn off. Now it's just, oh, it's Mickey. But back then, Mickey popping up was an event.
The king is in the room.
Many are familiar with, say fellas, did someone mention Lord of Darkness? As cringe, or goofy, or ridiculous. But let me tell you, 2006 kids thought this was hype.
Yeah, it's really easy for like people on the outside of the cage bubble to look at the Mickey moments, like the they'll pay for this and the say fellas of the world, and look at it and go, oh, that's cringe, that's silly. And like obviously, I think now that we're older, we can look at it and say objectively, it's kind of silly. It looks silly. It's juxtaposed against such more self-serious moments. But yeah, you're right. Like having Mickey set up as this sort of back character that's shrouded in mystery from the beginning of Cage 1, frankly, with the letter. Like he communicates solely through text until the very end of the game. And if you play Comp, you get a little bit of a bit more familiarity with him on the Riku side of things. But even then, I'm not even sure if I fully beat Calm by the time I was playing 2. But I was like, when Mickey showed up at the station at the beginning of Cage 2, I was like, oh, they're using him this time. Like, he's going to be like a part of this. I was popping off when he shows up in Hollow Bastion in the midpoint.
Experiencing this cutscene for the first time, I shot up with shock and excitement ready to lock in. The game had just gotten serious.
I loved in Kingdom Hearts 1 how he was mysterious and how he was, he's this authority figure, but you don't see him until the very end. I love that about Kingdom Hearts 1. And I love this Rowan Chain of Memories. And I do love in Kingdom Hearts 2 how, every time that Mickey Mouse, it sounds silly saying it, but every time he walks into the room, something important is going to happen. Whether it's some kind of exposition or, something's about to go down, because he always shows up at like very important moments in Kingdom Hearts 2, and then he's very present throughout like the very end of the game as well.
Not only was Mickey showing up sporadically, but showing up in a black coat. The look adds mystery just from the design, but that's also the same clothes the bad guys are wearing. What does that imply?
I thought it made the story better, the way it was done. I thought it was seeing more of him made more sense, and the black coat also added to his aura. Oh, in recent times, some good memes.
Mickey's story and design is full of secrets, and it's one of the few times Mickey has his own story. Personally, I like the arc Mickey goes through in this game.
I thought his strongest scenes were with his conversation with Ansem and Wise in The World Another Was. I thought that was really great dialogue between the two. But I thought King Mickey played a very good role in Kingdom Hearts 2, I thought. I think it might have been his strongest game, honestly.
From an outsider's perspective, Mickey may look weird or cringe. He looks edgy, and if you didn't know any better, you might think that this Mickey was Nomura's OC. Like, check out my OC Dickie. He's like Mickey, except he carries a gun and doesn't give a flip. Also, he flips people off now. The only thing he's missing are colored bangs. From all appearances, King Mickey seems like the polar opposite of the jovial Mickey we all know and love. Which is really weird considering how protective Disney is of Mickey's image, going so far to prevent all copyrights to extend like 20 years just so no one takes Mickey. But that's the thing. I don't think this is a different Mickey. Mickey is still his friendly, happy self. He cares about his friends and reaches out to them. Mickey just works behind the scenes. The only comparison I can think of is a mentor like Gojo or Kakashi. Mickey is already an authority figure because he is the king of Disney Castle, but he's also someone to aspire or look up to. He's very knowledgeable and knows things we don't, especially about the circumstances going on around us. At this point, he's the only other person we know with a Keyblade. He's a Keyblade master, and he holds our Keyblade, but a golden version. He's flexing on us how much better he is.
50,000? That's just pathetic, man. You should take the next one.
Hold the elevator!
Ow! 20 million power? Teach me!
The best way I think I could describe it is Mickey feels like a spy in this game. He's working behind the scenes and has a lot of knowledge of Organization 13 and has secrets of his own. Sadly, I think a lot of that aura has been lost, but it makes sense as the story doesn't really call for it anymore. After the tutorial, we finally get to see an old familiar face, but he doesn't look exactly the same. The last time we saw Sora, he was wearing his same red romper, but what was once something similar to shorts now looks more like Daisy Dukes. A year has passed and Sora has physically grown. Now we've doubled Sora's height. In 2006, I think this meant something to some players, but we'll get to that later. For now, we need to get Sora some new clothes. A lot of people love Sora's outfit from Kingdom Hearts 2. And who could blame them? Kingdom Hearts 2's outfit looks amazing, and it gives the feeling of Sora stepping it up this game.
KH2 Sora's costume is still my favorite to this day. First of all, I love the way that the shoes aren't entirely yellow. It feels like Sora is his own character as opposed to a representation of Mickey or influenced by Mickey with the whole red and the yellow shoes, right? So to have him kind of get his own style a bit, where it's the black clothing, but there's still colors throughout. He's got the cool pockets, like cargo pants pockets. It felt very like this is Sora. He's grown up, he's coming into his own, and he's got a sick outfit to go with it.
Despite how weird it sounds, Sora is putting on his big boy pants now.
You can really see the reflection of the times in KX2, because Sora's new outfit is very like goth adjacent, but like without like the colors. Because when you figure Sora, you figure like bright colors, or it still has like the bright colors, but like it's got like the belts and stuff like that.
Sora's height is not the only thing that has changed physically about him. The last we heard Sora's voice was the end of Kingdom Hearts 1. But since then, Haley Joel Osment has gone through puberty. Sora no longer sounds like a little kid, but at the very least sounds like a teenager.
When I first played KH2, I did play Chain of Memories in the middle, but I played it on the GBA. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that are getting into the series now, if they're going in order, they're going to play Rechain of Memories, where Sora is fully voiced, or at least, in the non-Disney floors. And it's a lot more jarring to get it there because it's coming out of the KH1 model. It doesn't feel quite right. Even still nowadays, it feels kind of off. But then, you're marinating with this anticipation of like, where is Sora? And he makes this triumphant, return out of the egg pod, and you get the new voice reveal. I think it definitely hits a lot harder and better if you're going from 1 to 2, as opposed to having that stop down for recom, because it feels less jarring. It feels like it fits the face and the new look of the character. But I was definitely taken aback by it.
The very first time we hear this new, deeper voice was in the intro. He talks about scattered dreams. Even though Sora's new voice is heard before he got his new threads, I bring it up now because the audience during 2006 was also growing up. Usually. In elementary school, I was playing Kingdom Hearts 1. Around Kingdom Hearts 2's release, I was entering/attending middle school. In my personal life, I was experiencing the exact same maturing that Sora was in the game.
Kingdom Hearts was like a big part of my childhood. It's like I really feel like I'm growing up with the character, and it's like, wow, I didn't think voices like that could change. And then I get older, I'm like, wait, my voice changed. Like, what? It happens.
It's interesting to start the series about the same age as the characters, but then it's like, oh, Sora's a little bit older than me. Me being an emo kid at the time, where I was just like, yeah, man, it's so cool. It felt like I was growing up with Sora and Kairi.
It's nice to have media that you enjoy grow and mature with you. Being able to relate to your media can have a lasting impact on an individual. This may be one of the reasons Kingdom Hearts 2 is so beloved. The nostalgia can have a death grip on people. The ones who grew up with these games are usually its biggest defenders. This growth helps facilitate a character development for Sora. His heightened voice is not the sole main contributor to the character development, but it helps. This is Kingdom Hearts 2. This is not Sora's first rodeo, and his heightened voice is one way that we can visually see that on screen.
Sora, like, growing up and his voice kind of like growing up and changing with him is like a perfect way to, I guess, convey, like, yeah, like, everything's like changing, right? Like Sora's changing, his character's changing, his voice is changing, and the story, it's getting more in depth. We're getting into some deeper themes and some darker themes and some more mature things that are going on.
The audience and Sora are growing and maturing, but the game itself is maturing as well. In Kingdom Hearts 1, the main antagonists were familiar Disney villains working together for their own goals. Now we're faced with a never-before-seen Cabal. Their motivations are unknown, but more importantly, their identities are unknown. These adversaries being such an enigma makes them an intimidating force. The Disney villains are from quote-unquote kids movies, where the audience saw them growing up, and we've seen the heroes triumph over them. Not that the Disney villains were bad or lame, but these new villains' first appearance was being experienced as kids played in 2006. Not only that, but they gave them the personality of being schemers. It always felt like they were 10 steps ahead. As you went through the worlds, their presence loomed over you.
I think, again, for someone that played Chain of Memories in between 1 and 2, that was like the true introduction to the organization and this ramping up of threat levels. And then in KH2, when you're picking back up with the rest of this group that you spent 2 years wondering, like, what about the other members of this organization? That air of mystery that surrounds the rest of the organization was so fun, and it sets the mood of exploration and discovery in that game. But I think the threat level is even more palpable if you're playing it in the remix. But even without those scenes, I feel like they knocked it out of the park with KH2 in terms of the sense of dread and foreboding when it comes to the villains themselves. KH1, I feel like, had that sense of, this dire apocalyptic events are going on. But not so much with the villains, because, like, yeah, Maleficent's scary, but she's from a kid's movie. Like, so are all these other Disney characters. And then Ansem shows up at the very end. But you know that this group is hovering over you, watching your every move. And they set that up really early and really well, I think.
You knew they were doing things behind your back. The fear built as you tried to make sense of what that could be. All of these things combined to give the game a more serious tone. Not in the sense of edgy or more adult vibes, but it gave the impression of a more grave threat. Sora and crew could not treat this lightly. Once again, it just feels the devs were going bigger this time. Not to mention, this was the very first time seeing the organization.
I did not play Chain of Memories as a kid. I played it like, I might have played like 10 minutes of it on my cousin's Game Boy Advance. I've seen Axel in like screenshots, but like seeing him talk, his mannerisms, definitely memorable. Obviously, he's a very popular character in the series. You were in middle school, I was in like high school. I think like a lot of people like in that like range, in their adolescence and their teens. I think that's a character that's going to make himself be remembered. And it's funny, it's really funny how meta that is. He succeeded. He really did succeed. When I think of Cakes too in the organization, I think, the first person you think of is probably Axel and Roxas, obviously.
A lot of players didn't play Chain of Memories, so the familiarity wasn't there. This was my intro to Axel. If I had known about Axel being a cold-blooded killer, I might not have liked him or rooted for him.
The second Larxene fight was what I got stuck on. I saw him kill Vexen, which was done very differently in Chain of Memories, and it wasn't in Rechain. It was a shock to see him in Kingdom Hearts 2 at the very beginning in like the Roxas stuff. And then when I started Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm like, whoa, like, what the heck? And then I was also thinking, I'm like, okay, wait, when does this take place? Because I didn't finish Chain of Memories at that point. But then he starts saying like, yo, Roxas, you're my best friend. And I'm like, I'm confused. I'm like, what the, like, this guy, I have no idea what this dude's motive is at all. Like, I have no idea. And even after he played Chain of Memories, it's like, what the heck is he up to? Like, anytime he showed up on screen, I always perked up in my seat. I'm going to pay attention because he was the most interesting character for me, because like, you never knew if he was gonna like double cross you or like double cross the organization or like what. You just know that he's kind of doing his own thing, and you never know which way he's gonna lean.
Even if you had played Chain of Memories, the organizations were mostly all brand new. You got hints throughout the game. You heard Zaldan's name, Zigbar's voice, and you heard that the leader was Apprentice Xehanort's nobody.
I don't think I was aware of like the sense of maturity that the series was trying to go up to. I also am not one to prescribe to the KH2's kind of edgy type of thing. I understand where that comes from. The thing that struck out to me the most of Organization 13 compared to the Disney villains was just how different the personalities were. You get Zigbar, who sounds like a California surfer dude, as a Californian, right? And then the next one you meet is Demix, who just runs past you and he's like, run away! So I almost actually didn't take them seriously because I'm like, who are these guys? They weren't cartoonish, but they definitely had more personality. There is that sense of like, okay, these guys are organized, these guys are powerful, these guys are scary. It definitely hit me in the second half of the game of like, these guys mean business, and they're also using me.
You slowly obtained pieces of the puzzle until they each revealed their faces. When you saw a black coat, you didn't know which one it was. Throw Riku into the mix and it was all the more confusing. Every time someone lifted their hood, I was on the edge of my seat. The game is now well underway. Now we can see the new roster of worlds our adventure has in store. Kingdom Hearts 1 has a stacked world lineup as is, but 2 looked at that roster and said,
Spectacular, give me 14 of them right now.
Really?
Kingdom Hearts 2 has expanded the lineup in all the best ways.
I think if you were to look at just the pure property selection in terms of how they're represented in the game, I think KH2 has the strongest lineup overall. I think KH1 had a case, but I think the lack of a full Lion King world definitely hurts that, especially at the time the game came out. 2002, Lion King was not that long ago at that point.
In Kingdom Hearts 1, we got Simba as a summon. That meant that Lion King was not a world. The same went with Mushu, only appearing as a summon. Beast, although not a summon, only appeared as a party member in Hollow Bastion. Don't get me wrong, that was awesome. All 3, despite being helpful in combat, played only a small part in Kingdom Hearts 1. Kingdom Hearts 2 gave each of these their own world. I was stoked to go to each one.
But for Beast, it was cool to actually walk through the castle, because I watched, obviously watching a lot of the Disney Renaissance movies growing up, it's like I'm actually walking through these areas that I've just watched a ton of times. I'm going through the castle. I get to see the rose. I'm in the ballroom. So that in itself as a new level was really fun. Because just again being in those iconic like Disney set pieces.
I think what was the coolest part for me was like the fact that those summons actually know Sora, Donald, and Goofy, because it's like they were fighting with you the whole time. But like if you were like me and you didn't use summons in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's like, oh my gosh, like wait, I forgot that they like know each other, and I like that they included that with like Mushu and Simba. Also, The Lion King is my favorite Disney movie of all time, so the fact that we got to go to the Pride Lands and play as like Lion Sora, oh my gosh, like at the time, like it was my favorite world like of all time in Kingdom Hearts. I was like, this is crazy.
I went into KH1 ready and waiting for the Lion King world, and then when Simba was a summon, I was like, oh, we're probably not gonna get that, so that was always a bummer. So that was like the world I was most excited about in KH2. I knew it was coming. They saved it for basically the very end of that first stretch of Disney World, so I was popping off for that as a kid.
Some, if not most, considered Lion King as a big addition, but to me, all felt like big moments. It may be because growing up my mom would watch Mulan a lot, or it may be that great tracks played here. Either way, implementing these worlds builds from one and continues their story. Even the returning worlds have something new to offer. Olympus upgraded from 2 rooms to a whole explorable underworld. Halloween Town finally took you to Christmas Town.
Back when I played KH1, I was wondering, like, where is Christmas Town? You know, like that is literally half of the title, and you just don't get that half of the movie in the game. So that was huge, even though I don't I don't love, like, you know, the physicality of Christmas Town in 2. At least it's there. At least it's, you know, the movie feels more fully represented there. So that's definitely a plus in that aspect.
Agrabah has a new Cave of Wonders, plus ruins, and Hollow Bastion has everything that includes, but we'll cover some of that later. Other Kingdom Hearts have revisited worlds, but rarely has much new to offer. Maybe, with KH2 being a bigger console release, they couldn't get away with the reduce, reuse, recycle shtick. They had to have some substance, which I am all the more grateful for. Exploration is a big thing for me in games. Mostly, I'm looking for unique, new things when I explore worlds. Playing Kingdom Hearts 1 as a kid, one of my least favorite worlds was Olympus Coliseum. The world had at most 3 rooms, and one of those rooms is a lobby. The exploration was non-existent. But when I saw Olympus in 2, in Hercules the film, I got the impression that the underworld was an incredibly dangerous place, which felt insane to visit in-game. But we spent so much time there, it was exhilarating. Same with Christmas Town.
Yeah, I think the underworld was a big one for me where I'm like, whoa, like, because Hercules is a movie that I didn't watch a ton of growing up. I didn't watch Hercules until like a little bit later. I remember being like, oh, this is Olympus? Like, this, like, because you see like the world on the map, and I'm like, oh, this looks a little bit different. And then you start off in the underworld, and I'm like, oh, it's like a world. Like, we're not just fighting in the Colosseum. Like, this is a world. Like, this is awesome.
Whether you think the KH1 worlds are better or like 2's more, each experience is unique.
You say expanded, but I don't even know if I would describe those. I mean, it's different. It's like they're more like, to me, they're more like redesigns because I felt like a lot of these KH1 worlds were big, they're vast, explorable. And in KH2's case, are more like linear, which isn't a bad thing. But I do feel that like the KH1's like world design philosophy is far superior to KH2's, even with these redesigns.
And in the case of returning worlds, you get more of what you love without being the exact same. The game isn't done feeding us good with world selection because KH2 was the first time we saw live action added to the series. The worlds that they added were not just any worlds. They had a random movie from the 80s and Pirates of the Caribbean. Why they chose Tron of all the live action options they had, I don't know. But I'm certainly glad they did. My beloved. But it's no wonder why they chose Pirates. If you weren't there, in 2006, Pirates was huge in culture. In 2006 specifically, Pirates 2: Dead Man's Chest was one of the highest grossing movies.
I love Pirates of the Caribbean. I like the first one more than the second one, but I watched the first movie multiple times. That was my other actually favorite world on the first playthrough, actually, outside of The Lion King.
I hadn't even seen The Curse of the Black Pearl before I played Kingdom Hearts 2, and I knew what it was, and I was still ecstatic to play it. When I saw that Skull and Crossbones logo, I was like, it's happening.
I see the Skull and Crossbones, I'm like, okay, well, that's not Neverland. That's way too dark looking for Neverland. So I guess we're doing pirates. I was blown away. And back in the day, the guy that plays, I think it's James Arnold Taylor actually plays Jack in Cage 2. I was a kid. I didn't really notice. I was like, oh yeah, that's Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. I can't believe they managed to get these famous actors. I didn't know any better. I was just blown away by it. The possibilities at that point seemed endless to me.
And it's funny, as I'm writing this, I realize I don't have all that much attachment to the Pirates franchise. All my love for them comes almost exclusively from the Kingdom Hearts adaptations.
I thoroughly enjoyed, all 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I watched Pirates of the Caribbean 3 obsessively. Then go oh, we're going to a Pirates world. How is that going to look? And I will say, I was thrown off because Sora, Donald, and Goofy don't have costumes that they transform into in this world, which I felt was kind of off. I was impressed by how accurate they did look, but it still felt a little out of place. The voices is where I kind of lost them a little bit, but it was still cool to go through the parts of the movie, because again, I thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
The only thing I could compare it to give you an idea what it was like back then was when Frozen was added to Kingdom Hearts 3. It's they obviously were going to add it. It was that big. Also, not to mention my love for Tron as a series began here, but that's a whole other can of worms.
I like to believe that Cage 2 kind of helped with that hype for that movie. I think it made a lot of people into Tron fans, because I think Tron is one of the most memorable worlds in the Kingdom Hearts series. I feel like the connection between Sora and Tron might be, to me, is probably the strongest out in the entire series.
I thought it was an original world, only to find out later that Tron was a movie, because Tron Legacy came out a couple years later. And so it's okay, so I was introduced to Tron through Kingdom Hearts. And I'm also a pretty big Tron fan. I don't like comparing the Pirates and the Space Paranoids worlds, but if I had to say which anyone was better, it's definitely Tron, because of how they handle the unique, cyber-y look. And it comes off a lot better than the very dark and dingy Pirates.
As we make our way to our first Disney worlds, we're given a choice. If we follow the game's recommendation, we will see our next improvement that will lead into the next overarching topic, combat. Kingdom Hearts 2's first Disney world based on recommendation is Land of Dragons. This world is one of our first intros to limit attacks. The limit in Land of Dragons plays into the story of the world and really highlights the limit. Mulana's ping is pretty useless in combat. She has almost no abilities. The story even highlights this, with Shang constantly trying to get rid of her, and Sora has to vouch for her. When Mulan finally accepts herself, her true potential becomes unlocked. One of the biggest upgrades is you get access to her limit. Both Beast and Mulan have auto limit equipped, so if you don't know what limits are, you almost stumble into it. Mulan's self-acceptance puts her power on full display. Mulan's story and the intro to limits complement each other, and you get a better story and intro because of it.
Yeah, the limit attacks are cool. I mean, it's all part of that escalation with making everything so cinematic in Cage 2. Not just the reaction commands or just the moment-to-moment raw combat, but also these special events that you can trigger when you have a full MP. She can literally be your true self, and that in turn gives you access to this super powerful ability. I think that's so cool and fitting with the overarching themes of Cage 2 to a degree.
Maybe it's my bias, but seeing Mulan's limit for the first time was the coolest thing. Mulan and Sora flying all over the screen, ending with Mushu raining hellfire all around them, made my jaw drop. They stood there all stoic like they were unfazed by the explosions. It reminds me of that classic walking away from an explosion in movies. I was always really excited to see the new attacks I could share with my party members. I think my top 3 were Tron, Riku's, and Mulan's. Maybe in that order. I don't know.
My favorite limit is Dance Hall with Jack. I think it's really effective. I also like to set up with Tron.
I will say my favorite limit attack I think in the game is got to be the Orin one.
My favorite limit is it's got to be Sora and Riku's. Maybe that's a cop out answer, but it's like theirs is so sick. Like, and it's also just Sora and Riku fighting side by side. And I'm biased towards Lion King. I think like I used like the Pride Roar limit probably the most out of any of them. But one of them they just like zigzag around the entire arena. If you just keep mashing it, I'm like, this is so sick. Yeah, I'd say those are probably my 2 favorite limits.
I love limits, and I'm glad they made a return in Kingdom Hearts 3. Limits as a whole was a small part that demonstrated that the combat has changed.
The limits, I feel like I'm more connected with my Disney party members because I have these cool moves with them. You know, KH1, you get rid of Donald every time because Donald is mean to you, and he dies so quickly. And you still kind of do that in KH2 anyway. I want Donald to heal me in the rare instance that he does, or I want to, like, throw Goofy around the field, but then it's like, okay, well, I want to be able to do this really cool move with Mulan, or, like, suck people up into a treasure chest with Jack Sparrow. It does kind of lead into that whole, like, okay, we've been here before, we know what we're doing. It feels like we're more part of the worlds in the universe. There's a lot of complexity that comes, I feel, with its combat evolution and how it kind of spreads throughout the whole game.
One of the biggest aspects of Kingdom Hearts 2 and one of the biggest points that people like to bring up is the combat. There's not much debate that Kingdom Hearts 2 has one of the best, if not the best, combat system of the Kingdom Hearts series. As stated previously, limits are a small part that makes combat feel faster, flashier, and in general, just cooler. We'll get into more mechanics, but when comparing Kingdom Hearts 1 Vanilla and Kingdom Hearts 2 Vanilla, there were some parts of combat that 2 just did better. The one thing that pops in my mind is special attacks like Strike Raid or RS Arcanum. In Vanilla 1, those attacks are mapped to the bottom of the command menu. The issue comes in when those attacks pop up for a split second, and by the time you get to the bottom, it's gone. My kid mind couldn't react that fast, so I didn't make use of them at all. 2 came with all that stuff built in. You could perform cool attacks from abilities, limits, reactions, drives, you name it.
Yeah, it definitely felt snappier, and I think too that what I liked the most about on a first playthrough, this is on my first playthrough, what I liked the most was the combo modifiers. You don't really have that in Kingdom Hearts 1, like vanilla. You have like Blitz and stuff like that, and it's like a little bit different, and you have and the final mix adds like Ripple Drive and things like that. But like even just like doing stuff like different things in the middle of combos, like the dodge slash, and then having like gap closers and different finishers like explosion, guard break, finishing leap, which could lead into like other stuff. 'Cause again, I'm not doing crazy stuff in my first playthrough. I'm like 10, 11 years old. You know, I'm not like doing magnet into finishing leap, you know, like even though that's a really fun strat, even just the addition of like you get abilities where like, yeah, you're not just hitting the X button. It's like, okay, in the middle of a combo, I can hit the square button and do an upper slash and lead into an air combo. Or when an air combo, I can hit the square button and do a horizontal slash. It's just as like Sora's maturing and the game is maturing, and the combat system is also maturing. In that way, it's expanding.
To me, the best part of the combat is it plays into the story. In every Kingdom Hearts game, Sora starts over at level 1, and they always find a reason every time for this. Kingdom Hearts 2 is no different, except it doesn't feel like you're back at square one. In my opinion, every Kingdom Hearts game, you feel weaker at the beginning. But if you're going from 1 to 2, you can feel the progression. It truly feels, despite being low level, that Sora has grown as a combatant.
I think it was definitely a purposeful and a smart choice to illustrate the growth that Sora experiences between 1 and 2. Even though he, was sleeping for a year, you would think he might be a little stiff, might need to stretch a bit before he gets into the combat, but he does very well. And I think it really, I feel like in Cage 1, it kind of feels like the Keyblade is wielding Sora a bit. I feel like I'd have to imagine it's just like there's so much effort that goes into every swing. But in Cage 2, it's so much more smooth and elegant and graceful. And I just feel like he has a bit more of mastery over the weapon.
We've talked about the visual, physical growth, the more mature antagonists, and now even mechanically, we can see Sora growing up, further cementing this coming-of-age story. Except you're not just watching it like other movies. You're experiencing it through this game. If you were lucky enough to grow up with these games, you got a unique perspective on them of growing up with Sora. But if you love fast, flashy combat, then have I got a feature for you. Reaction commands make their grand debut in Kingdom Hearts 2. They're such a simple implementation, but do so much to bring such complex attacks into the game. It may feel like a broken record, but reaction commands is one of those parts that really elevates the combat system to feel all of those adjectives I said earlier. In fact, I would argue that it's one of its key pillars.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite additions to Kingdom Hearts 2 were reaction commands, because it made encounters just more fun and interesting. Even though it's just like press triangle to win, and I know that's like a big meme, in Kingdom Hearts, but it's like, I don't care, it's fun. Like, yeah, I'm pressing a button to do a cool, flashy thing, but guess what? I'm doing a cool, flashy thing, and it's fun. I'll take that over, just like having to figure out like, X and triangle and square combos to do flashy stuff, which I like that too.
In general, people really hate QuickTime events, but I think reaction commands are the perfect solution to them. For one, they're only mapped to one button, which makes things so much simpler and quicker. With other QuickTime events, you don't know what button is going to pop up, so to help, the game slows down. All of this brings games to a standstill. Whenever a QuickTime event pops up in a game, my brain short circuits. First, realizing that a QuickTime event is even happening, then trying to remember where the buttons are. Reaction commands throws that all out the window. You are shown early on you only need triangle. All you need is a flash of green on the screen, and you know exactly what to do. And then you pull off an amazing cinematic move, all without slowing down the gameplay. You can perform a flashy move and jump right back into a combo. The other way reaction commands are just built different is most of them are completely optional. The game doesn't just end if you don't react fast enough. You may lose some health on some of them, but overall, it's just another tool at your disposal. Reaction commands continued the narrative of Sora's growth. Like, Sora has gotten so good at saving the worlds, now he's just grandstanding on his adversaries. I had gotten so used to Sora's 3-hit combo in 1 that seeing Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora move like that seems unfathomable.
I'm in the game industry because of Kingdom Hearts, so I'm gonna put on my game developer hat here. What I love about KH2's combat, it feels a lot more accessible because it's snappier, but also the reaction commands. And this is where I can definitely see the whole KH2 is a little bit edgy because you have these really anime moves and Sora does cool poses. Those are essentially QuickTime events, right? But hardly any of them are mandatory. They're simply for get some free damage in and look cool. And I love that use of it as a mechanic, because also there is a good enough window where you can react to them. It keeps the player on their toes, but not in a way where they're fearing of failing. It makes them want to get better, learning the combat so you can hit that reaction command at the right moment, do a cool move, get some damage.
I would even go so far to call reaction commands the younger cousin of tech points. I wouldn't say they're too closely related like siblings, but they're related. They share traits, like each enemy has unique tech/reactions. I always find it fun to discover new techs or reactions. The big way they're different is reaction commands are way more no-brain, which isn't the worst thing. I just like finding creative solutions by thinking my way out with tech points.
It made fighting even just normal enemies more interesting, because even just some normal enemies have very specific reaction commands, and the fact that a lot of like these like boss fights have like specific commands and enemies have specific commands. Like they have to animate like all this, and it's like that's so cool that they chose to do that.
And the reaction commands, yeah, I mean, and they kick off with Roxas in the Twilight Thorn battle. It's so incredibly cinematic. I mean, blew my mind the first time. I'm like pretty iffy on reaction commands overall. I feel like I wish there was a bit more player agency with a lot of them. But my favorite reaction command is the samurai one. To go back to using the command menu, it throws it back to KH1 days. You got to scroll through and pick the right the end option. There's a lot of agency and timing that goes into that one. I find that one pretty enjoyable. But some other ones like, you know, warp snipe, where you're just pressing triangle when you see the sniper or the Zegbar bullet. That's fine. Not as interactive as I would want it to be. If they do come back for a KH4, I know that's not what the video is about, but I hope they're more like those samurai ones. Because I just like having to really think about what you're doing.
But wait, there's more. Triangle is not done making Kingdom Hearts 2 the fastest it can be. Triangle can now open chests, examine, and talk to NPCs. In Kingdom Hearts 1 Vanilla, that was all mapped to the bottom of the menu, and you had to make sure no enemies were around. If you wanted to open a chest, a lot of times enemies would pop up. Well, no problem, just kill them, right? Well, what if an enemy wanders over to another spawn point? Or maybe, in some places like the Cave of Wonders, you've killed most of the enemies, and then you fall or get knocked off, and you just gotta walk all the way back and then have all the enemies respawn. I just wanna open one chest! Is that so much to ask? Oh, it's a gummy block!
In game development, there's this whole flow state where the players will go in and out of identifying with the character. So when you say, ow, I took damage when Sora gets hit, that's you identifying. But if for some reason you're like, oh, Sora, why'd you do that? Right? That's out, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I view the being able to open a treasure chest mid-battle, that is also a great way to kind of be immersed and also keep things going at a good pace, because it's like, okay, I'm in combat, but let me just grab this treasure chest real fast. I risk getting damaged, but it's only a quick animation and I can deal with it. It's not so much of an obstacle. Whereas if you were in Kingdom Hearts 1 and you're really trying to open a specific treasure chest and there's a Heartless somewhere that you can't fight, it's like, where is it? I don't see it. To me, that's also like a maturation of just the overall game design. We're gonna let the players do what they want, which is open your treasure chest mid-battle.
When I first saw that triangle pop up for a chest, I swear, I almost broke down in tears. Plus, you can open them mid-combat? They treat us too good. The devs even knew this was the superior way to play since they added the triangle functions to Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, which was honestly one of the things I was most excited about when that game came to the US.
When you play like non-number games, you have to press X, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I think it should always be on triangle. Because it's just like, back to my brain is wired if I'm playing KX 1, 2, or 3, it's always triangle, and that's what my brain accepts. So when I'm playing Dream Drop or BBS, I'll accidentally use a command.
After we finish all the Disney Worlds, we are brought back to Hollow Bastion for the event of the century. Hollow Bastion's second visit is so massive to the series that it may be the only thing people see Kingdom Hearts 2 as. It starts to build when you visit Tron and the King shows up. When Sora and the gang have to go back, they express the exact emotion I felt. I also felt relieved when he said he wasn't leaving. Once you leave Space Paranoids, the game goes from 0 to 60 with no breaks until you leave. You get massive lore dumps, knock a major antagonist off the board, and to face a horde of enemies with seemingly impossible odds. When I say that Kingdom Hearts 2 is epic, all the previously mentioned factors play their part, but Hollow Bastion's second visit is the poster boy. Kingdom Hearts 2 has other high points, but none with as big of a cultural impact or nostalgia behind it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't know this about me, but I, growing up, was a KH2 over KH1 guy, and I think almost 90% of the reason for that was that KH2 had the Battle of Hollow Bastion and KH1 didn't. It was that simple. The fact that the game lets you be one character against 1,000 of these entities at once was just like a revelation. Like, it was the best. It was just such a moment that I feel like I not even experienced in a game up until that point. And honestly, few since. Like, I feel like few moments in games meet that level of anticipation and things just coming to a head in such a fun and exciting way. Man, I love it a lot. It's my favorite part of the game.
Just like other historical events, every Kingdom Hearts fan can tell you where they were when Goofy was taken out.
I ran all the way to my mom's room. I'm 13, 14 at this point, and I'm like, they killed Goofy! And my mom's like, what?
For everyone else, this whole sequence was the funnest, most amazing, hypest part of the game. For kid me, I was stressed. The biggest wall for me was the Demyx fight, probably in all of the Kingdom Hearts games. So I was on edge till I made it to a save point. When I finally beat him, there was no relief, just paranoia. That Final Fantasy gauntlet just flew past my brain. I was in full fight or flight mode. Then, after I saved, it didn't end. I was like, I can't fight 1,000 Heartless, that's insane!
In my view, it does detract a little bit of the impact from hearing the track Showdown at Hollow Bastion, the 1,000 Heartless battle track that plays just before during the cutscene. That was like the one time in the game, in original KH2, since Twilight Town, that we heard a live orchestrated full orchestral track for, I don't know, 10 hours. And it was nuts. And then now in KH 2.5, everything is orchestrated, so like that track is still really good, but it's like lost its like big punch that it had in the original games.
I don't think I've ever felt that level of fear and anxiety in gaming since. Also, side note, to beat Demyx, just summon Chicken Little.
I think an understated thing about games and game discussion, especially games from that era where cutscenes were starting to become more common, is that like back in the day, as a kid, I viewed the cutscenes as a reward for getting through the tough gameplay segments. I feel like we don't really see it that way anymore. Like getting through a Riku Ansem in KH1 or getting through a Demyx in KH2 meant you got to be rewarded with the story. I was just as invested in the story as I was in the gameplay, if not more. Beating Demyx was so cathartic, and then there was just this waterfall, this cascade of rewards. Not even in just cutscenes, but just these sequences of getting to go through the ravine with the Final Fantasy characters and the 1,000 Heartless battle, and then the reveal of the organization's plot at the depths of darkness, at the very edge of the Great Maw. I mean, that was all so rewarding and cathartic, and I think it was so smart to put like a traditionally difficult boss fight right smack dab in the middle of that battle for Hollow Bastion, because it made the payoff so much better and so much more rewarding.
And then, after that roller coaster of a world, you get a message that you're only halfway through the game, and you get to play the whole game again. The perfect cherry on top to this visit. I think if the game was just first visits, it would be a complete experience. But we get to go back for seconds. It's just all too good. As someone whose favorite part of the Kingdom Hearts games is usually the Disney worlds, it felt like Kingdom Hearts 2 2.0. The Kingdom Hearts series is exceptional. Each game is remarkable in its own right. They all deserve their flowers. Kingdom Hearts 2 is probably the one that gets the most. However, I love each and every one of these games. There's reasons that I'm attached to them, whether it's its worlds, its mechanics, its story. All of those play a part in a lasting impact on each of our lives. I just hope, through this video, I was able to make it clear why I love Kingdom Hearts 2 in particular. Granted, this game is so big that even an hour video does not nearly cover all the improvements that was made from Kingdom Hearts 1. So if you don't see those parts of the video, that's why. I hope you guys enjoyed the video regardless. I would like to shout out my fellow collaborators who helped me elevate this video just like Kingdom Hearts 2. If you want to check me out and all of my Kingdom Hearts content, I make videos about world ideas like Narnia and the Haunted Mansion. I even make shorts about my summon ideas like Troy Bolton or Lightning McQueen. And last but certainly not least, this video was a part of a Kingdom Hearts virtual conference called March Caprice. If you love Kingdom Hearts, I implore you, check out the rest of the content that is made from this convention. You will not be disappointed. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.